to rock this place.
Welcome to the Buffalo Sports Conversation Room, Season 3, Episode 14. I'm your host, Jamie Malloy, ready to talk some Week 15 football with you all, my co-host, Joe Dalio. So without any further hesitation, here's Joe. Even though you guys accidentally may have saw him already, I forgot to exit him out, but let's bring him back on now. Hi, Joe. How you doing?
I am doing great, even though everybody knows my hiding spot now, but that's okay.
That was my bad, but
no, that's totally okay.
For a little bit, but go ahead.
Something you said shocked me, and I know I say this every week, but it goes so fast. You said Week 15. How in the world have we gotten to Week 15 here? I just don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll apologize too to people watching. I'm suffering with a cold here, and we'll see how long my voice. I think it's going to last for the entire podcast here. So forgive me if I'm not clear or a little droning out, and hopefully not putting anybody to sleep. But definitely do that. I was talking to Jamie about this backstage. I got the opportunity to be in sunny Florida this weekend. Great time with my parents and family down there. Again, it's rare that my entire family travels together like we did, but all 5 of us were there. Again, with my wonderful parents. It's rare that I get to watch Bills game with my parents because the times I see them are usually outside of football season, and the fact that in the Tampa area they had the game on, it was the their featured 1:00 game. So glad I was able to watch, but the fact that again as I said backstage, going from like 65-degree temperature differences here in the last couple of days, I think my body is like, what on earth are you doing to me here? I probably sound worse than I feel, but still, great time down there, and being able to watch the game there with my parents and getting a victory to talk about as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, Joe, are you ready to talk about the Thursday night game with the 4-9 Atlanta Falcons taking on the 7-6? That's crazy to say Tampa Bay Bucks, because what happened? They were 5-1, and how did they get to 7-6 at Raymond James Stadium?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I was still watching that game from Buffalo, but yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay, here we go. With 1:38 left in the first quarter, Sean Tucker from Syracuse ran the ball on a 1-yard touchdown to bring the score to 7-0 Tampa. With 12:11 left in the second quarter, Kyle Pitts caught an 8-yard touchdown, knotting the score at 7-0, playing like the Kyle Pitts of the old, getting back into form.
Right.
With 2:04 left in the half, Chase McLaughlin kicked a 49-yard field goal, giving the Bucks their first lead of the game, 10-7. With 38 seconds left in the half, Pitts caught his second touchdown for 17 yards, giving the Falcons their first lead of the game, 14-10. As time expired in the half, McLaughlin kicked his second field goal of the game, this time for 52 yards, to end the half at 14-13 Falcons. With 6:22 left in the third quarter, Devin Cope caught a 6-yard pass to bring the score to 20-14 Bucks. With 13:34 in the fourth, Chris Godwin caught a 3-yard pass, and the 2-point conversion was divine. I mean, good. Bringing the score to 28-14 Bucks. With 9:37 left in the fourth, Bijan Robinson scored on a 6-yard touchdown rush, but the 2-point conversion failed, bringing the score to 28-24 Bucks. It's Mr. Robinson's It's Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood, just like the old skit with Eddie Murphy.
Great, one of the funniest things ever on Saturday Night Live.
It was. With 3:34 left in the fourth, Pitts caught a third touchdown for 7 yards, but the 2-point conversion failed, bringing the score to 28-26. As time expired, Zay Gonzalez kicked a game-winning 48-yard field goal to stun the crowd and beat the Bucks at home 29-28. Excuse you. So, Joe, did you expect the Falcons to make such a stunning comeback?
Absolutely not. Now, I will say what I did expect, and I made a little bit off of this game because I did expect the Falcons to keep it close. The spread was kind of lower than people thought, and that's a red flag for me. And usually, when something smells fishy and doesn't look right, I usually go with it. I did have the Falcons with the points, thinking they would keep it within a field goal. I would have been a lot less surprised with a 28-26 Tampa Bay win, because, they would have won the close game that I expected. But got to give the Falcons credit. I mean, what do they have to play for? Really nothing. They're not going to win the division. They're not going to get in the playoffs. Tampa Bay still with had anyway at the time, a stronghold on the division, even though, again, I know Carolina's breathing down their necks and playing better than people expected. But still, Tampa Bay still with things in their hands and a bright playoff picture in front of them. The Falcons had nothing to play for, and yet they played as if they were in that situation, desperate, for a division title or something like that. So, really, I give the Falcons all kinds of credit, and I don't know what to say about the Buccaneers. Like we said when we first started talking about this game here, I mean, they started so well, and some good performances. I mean, you're talking about Kyle Pitts, like over 130 yards, couple or 3 touchdowns. Mike Evans basically tried to carry the Buccaneers by himself. He had like 132 yards. He didn't score, but still, big plays for Mike Evans here. But really, again, it was the Falcons with the biggest plays and finding the way to win. Not what I expected there. Again, they could have easily just rolled over and let the Buccaneers just, end this game without issue. But give them credit again, and nobody would have criticized them if they did that, because again, it was, the opposite scenario here that we saw coming. So give the Falcons all kinds of credit. It's their biggest win of the season, in my opinion. And, they're not going anywhere, but this is basically their Super Bowl win here and a great win for them.
Yeah, I know there's rumblings about Raheem Morris's job security. But the one thing I think you have to look at, though, is even though they were 8-9 in his first year and they're 5-9 in his second year, is the Falcons' defense took a massive jump from year 1 to year 2 under him. So, what do you think of that? At least that's happened under Raheem Morris. So,
I think you have to look at that. And I hope they do, and they have other big wins. I forgot about here, another Super Bowl type win. We all know who that was against, right?
Yeah.
Against the Bills, of course. So, this team does show up. I mean, the biggest problem with them is they've lost some games that they had no business losing, but they do show up in these games, and you got to give the team credit. And this is the type of win that could be a coach saving win, for the Falcons. And, perhaps they do give them one more year to see if they can progress and maybe take that next step. Because, again, this division is wide open. Next year, I mean, yes, Tampa could still be there. Carolina's growing. We'll see what kind of strides the Saints make. But I think it's still wide open for them. So I agree with everything you just said about Raheem Morris there. And I think it would be smart maybe to give him another season.
Yeah, and probably give him another year with Penix and see if Penix can come back, get a full year, and try to get his development going again. Because I think he did show flashes that he could be a NFL starter when he was playing. So it's not like he didn't.
Right. I agree with that as well.
And like I said, remember the Bucks problem was even for years before Raheem Morris. Remember, like the thing with Arthur Smith, remember their offense was good, but their defense has never been that great. And this is the first year where they finally have a defense. It's just they got to put it together. But it's nice to see that the defense is finally good now for a change there.
Right. Excuse me. I agree.
Well, those two young pass rushers are good too.
Yep.
So they got to look something to build there for the future, which is good. But anyway, I already mentioned this, Joe. But how the heck did the Bucks start at 5-1 and now they're 7-7? Luckily, they're still in first place because Carolina laid an egg, a golden opportunity against the Saints. But what's going on in Tampa Bay land? I mean, Baker. I mean, I know he loves that chicken from Popeyes, but does he need to love it a little? Does he need to love it a little bit more, or what the heck?
I don't have an explanation for that. I mean, one problem for the Bucks is they can't win at home. They're now 3-4 at Raymond James, so you're not going to succeed in the NFL if you can't win your home games, and that's one thing that's been going on with them. But I don't have an answer to that question. I don't know. They're one of these teams that I've tended to give a little bit too much credit lately, thinking, okay, this is the game they break out. This is the game they break out. And like I said, this one I thought they'd win. Again, I had the Falcons to keep it close. But, you know, again, as far as Tampa's concerned, I don't have an answer to that. Did not see that whole collapse coming. And now, you know, they're a loss or two away from missing this whole playoff completely. Because if Carolina can get it together and sneak in front of them, then they'll take this division.
Right. Now let's head to our game of the week, Joe. The 1:00 Sunday matchup between our 9-4 Buffalo Bills taking on the 11-2 New England Patriots at Gillette Stadium. New England came into this game winning 10 in a row, but remind us, folks, remind us, Joe, who does nobody circle the wagons like?
Right, those Buffalo Bills.
All right, here we go. So we're going to start. On the Patriots' first drive of the game, they took the ball 73 yards on 8 plays with Drake May scoring on his third rushing touchdown of the season to bring the score to 7-0 New England. With 30 seconds left in the first quarter, May scored on a 7-yard touchdown up the middle to bring the score to 14-0 New England. With 5:53 left in the second quarter, Travion Henderson, one of my picks for Offensive Rookie of the Year, if not, he should be, scored his 6th rushing touchdown of the season. The 52-yard increase in their lead to 21-0. Oh, my God. Joe, it's already over. Wait, hold on. Not yet.
That's double
I'll get there. With 1:56 left in the second half, James Cook scored his 2nd receiving touchdown this season for 5 yards, cutting the lead to 21-7 New England. With 2 seconds left in the half, Andy Borregales kicked a 36-yard field goal to close out the half. 24-7 Pats. Oh my God, Joe, it's over. It's over. Crown the Pats. They're going to win they're going to take the division title. The Bills' reign is over. But Joe, there's still a second half in the game. And what did the Bills do last week?
Rumor has it the Bills are a second half team.
Yes, they are. We're going to get to that right now.
Is that going to be proven here?
Let's find out. With Buffalo's first drive in the second half, Buffalo scored on a 6-play drive with Allen passing to Dawson Knox. Thanks, Dawson, as they would say on the Celino and Barnes commercial. Or the Celino Law commercial. They split now, my bad.
Celino Law.
Yep, Celino Law. On a 4-yard pass, cutting their lead to 24-14 New England. With 3:51 left in the third quarter, Cook scored his 2nd touchdown of the game for 3 yards to bring the score to 24-21 Pats. Is this really happening again, Joe? I mean, are we getting deja vu here?
It's getting interesting. I guess I can't go out in the Florida sunshine and sunbathe yet.
Well, as Olivia Rodrigo would ask the Bills, do you get deja vu? And I think We'll see. With
Yeah, good for
10:09
you.
left in the fourth quarter, the Bills took their first lead of the game with Dawson Knox. Once again, thanks, Dawson, scoring his second touchdown of the game to bring the score to 28-24. Buffalo. Crowd in a frenzy, and all the Bills backers around the country. With 9:49 left in the fourth quarter, Henderson scored his second touchdown on the game. This is weird, Joe. Kind of like you don't see this type of touchdown in the NFL. This is like something you see in college, where he goes to the right, looks like he's going to get stuffed, and then he bounces to the outside and runs it in for a touchdown. I didn't think you could I've never seen that in the NFL, because you can normally get away with that in college, because in the NFL you got to wait for your blocks. But it was a 64-yard run, giving the Pats the lead back 31-28. But with 6:48 left in the fourth, Cook scored his third touchdown in the game for 11 yards to take the lead back 35-31 Bills. And that's how the game went on. The Bills coming back in the second half for a second week in a row, 35-31. So, Joe, what did you think about the Bills' comeback for the second week in a row as a second-half team?
Yeah, very impressive. Proof that they are a second-half team for sure. Now, again, you got to be careful. You hope that they don't get burned in one of these games here. And they've lost some games, where they didn't get started in enough time. And, they could have, that's the dangerous thing here, is, they could have, 2 or 3 more losses here. They're 10-4. They're some big plays away from being like, 8-6 here. So, they are, again, a little lucky, but I'm going to attribute that more to a team that knows how to, pull out wins that maybe they don't deserve. Not that they don't deserve this win, of course, but again, it's an impressive win. So a couple of things that I saw here. Now, again, from 24/7, that's pretty big. People criticize the Patriots and, the fact that they're 10-2 and they haven't beaten anybody. You know what? In the NFL, do you know how hard it is to beat teams, even teams that don't have good records? So I love, the fact that the Patriots win games they're supposed to win. And they almost won this one as well. Now, again, this is a big test. They've beaten the Bills already. We know that. But other things here, the Patriots actually outgained the Bills, 385-349. It was very close. Now, the Bills had the greater time of possession here, like 35 minutes to 25 minutes. So, especially as the game's going on. And, we can attribute that to, some guy named Cook having a typical Cook type of game. But, no turnovers for the Bills. How many times have we said this? The Bills, one of the biggest reasons for their success is that they don't turn the ball over. And these games that they've struggled in and lost, they gave the ball away like Christmas presents, So New England only had 1 turnover, but the Bills had 0. And you're going to win games when you have 0 turnovers. Now, Drake May, kind of a subpar game for him. Again, a big test. And that's why, again, maybe people will criticize and say, hey, now he finally got a worthy opponent here and he didn't do much, just 155 yards, no passing touchdowns. But he did. He still racked up fantasy points. He's on my fantasy team here. Now, I was in a toilet bowl playoff game, but he still racked up like 20 points because he had 43 yards rushing and two rushing touchdowns. Although his quarterback rating was like 62.8. So not very good. And again, an interception at the wrong time. Now, Josh Allen's stats, maybe not the flashiest, but he did have 3 touchdown passes. Again, clutch, getting things done when he needed to get them done. And, it was a nice combination. They always say Josh Allen has to be Superman sometimes. And there was parts of this game where he did have to be Superman. But then there was other parts of the game where he let other guys do the work. Again, James Cook having a typical James Cook game with 107 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Khalil Shakir, he's been quiet lately, but he had a nice solid game. 5 catches for 65 yards. And Thank you, Dawson Knox, as Jamie said. A lot of us saying the wrong tight end catching these passes, but 2 touchdowns for Dawson Knox. Now let's look at the defensive side of the ball, and there was times in this game I thought it was like 2021. Tre'Davious White getting the big interception, and some guy that's been rather quiet lately, but played easily his best game of the season here. Some guy named Milano, Matt Milano, 10 tackles, 9 of them solo tackles, 2 sacks, all over the field from start to finish. And again, making big plays when they had to be made. This was the Matt Milano that we all know. One of the best games I can remember him playing in the last couple of years. So, good effort there. Again, the defense, we looked like a blowout early. And again, I'm thinking it's 78 degrees outside. I'm just going to go sit in the sun. This game's done. Luckily, I didn't do that. And again, the way the Bills came out in the second half, I don't know what was said in the locker room, but they came out on fire from the first second of that second half and took the game away from the Patriots there. And still a long road, to go. I mean, who do the Bills have? Well, just the Eagles game there. They could win out. They should win, 2 out of the last 3 here. And they could easily beat the Eagles, but, playing at home. The Patriots have 2 very easy games, although, again, no such thing as an easy game. But as I said, the Patriots beat those teams. But, again, divisional opponents, the Dolphins and the Jets, that would love, to make their seasons by spoiling the Patriots season. So, and we've seen this picture before recently, didn't we? Where the Dolphins had a big lead in the division, and then all of a sudden gets down to the last game with the Bills and Dolphins, and the Bills, take it away like they deserve to have it. So would we be surprised if that happened again? I mean, this game wasn't the last game of the season, but, still, there's a lot of things that could happen here. And, again, losing this game, the Patriots would have clinched, I believe I saw on the broadcast. It would have been over as far as the division. But now all kinds of things can happen. I mean, the Bills could easily win out. Patriots can lose 1 or 2 of those games, and we got another division championship here. So be very interesting to see.
Mm-hmm. And Joe, if the Bills do make the playoffs, do you think that their second half heroics will help them in winning the playoffs? Because I think they need to play more of a complete game in the playoffs.
Absolutely, they have to. Now, again, I'll be concerned. They will not survive if they have first halves like they've had in some of these games. Okay. I'd be confident in the Bills if they're down by 4 points or even by 6 or 7 points. I didn't say that on purpose. But even if they're down by a touchdown or a field goal or like I said, a handful of points, I have full confidence that the Bills can come back at a game like that, and they've proven that over and over again. It's going to be a problem for them if they're down 24-7 at halftime or, down by 2 touchdowns even, or 10 points even, going into a fourth quarter, let's say. They can't let that happen. Again, if a team gets ahead of them and there's 2 minutes left, and they're down by 4, would you trust Josh Allen to pull off this comeback? I think every Bills fan would say yes to that. You can't get yourself down in a big lead like they have in some of these games. Again, fully capable of making a small comeback late, but don't get yourself in a deep hole, or else I don't think you're going to be able to dig out of it. Mm-hmm. So it's a fine line there, in my opinion.
What do you think about Dawson Knox making his 26th career touchdown catch, passing Pete Metalars for the most by a tight end in Bills history?
Oh, I did not know that. You're the first person to tell me that. Again, are you sure this game wasn't 2021 with Milano and White making big plays and, Dawson Knox making, big catches and 2 touchdowns? I swear it's 2025. But some of these guys played like it was 2021.
I know, but did you think we would have thought Dalton Kincaid would have passed that record with the way he was playing before Knox did? But no, it was Knox.
Right. Now Kincaid is still fully capable of breaking that.
Breaking Knox is 26. You're saying
Breaking
right?
Knox now, yeah.
We didn't think about that.
So that's I did not know that.
Yeah.
That he broke Metzelar's record.
And Joe, think about it. The Cowboys are famously known for the number 88, but in receivers, we have 2 number 88s, but they're tight ends and they broke records.
Right. Yeah, that's very interesting as well.
Knox and Metzelar, like I just said. There you go. Right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. And what did you think about that stellar play from rookie running back Trayvon Henderson? 14 carries for 148 yards and average 10.6 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns. He made up for Drake May only throwing 155 yards.
Yeah, you said it. You don't see plays like that in the pros that much, but he made that play, and you were talking about waiting for the block. It wasn't a big block, but you know who made the key block in that run? It was Drake May, right? So, he didn't put himself in a position to get hurt, which is smart. But he certainly, prevented any, defender from getting in there, that last defender from maybe having a chance to make a tackle. So yeah, that's a great run, excuse me. And, this guy continues to grow, and it's just another part of that offense. Everybody talks about Drake May, and rightfully so, but they're starting to build some other guys around him. And there's one right there that I think is only going to grow more into that offense as well.
Mm-hmm. So should we give our predictions now for the Week 16 matchup between the Buffalo Bills at the Cleveland Browns, led by Shedeur Sanders, or Shaduki Sanders, as Jeremy B calls him. I call him Shabuzi Sanders.
Shabuzi Sanders.
Because he gonna let him know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. So who's going first here?
You go first, Joe.
All right, sure. So if we're talking Shabuzi, I'll talk about the good news here. I think, again, a little concerned the way the Bills play on the road. And again, even in this game, it's not a playoff game. It's not a quality opponent like the Patriots, but you cannot take them for granted. You need to show up for this game in the first half. Don't let yourself get put down in a big lead, because the Browns defense, again, is solid. They haven't been playing as well lately, but if you're the Bills, you cannot take this game for granted, and you can't have a letdown, which is dangerous, after, beating a team like the Patriots. So I think the Bills don't do that. I think the Bills come out strong from start to finish. I have the score of this one: Bills 27, Browns 17.
Okay, I think the Bills struggle again in the first half, but then I think they pull it together in the second half and pull away. I got the Bills 34, the Browns 17. And the one thing about the Browns, though, Joe, is everybody gives them, a lot of plucky for trading those 3 first-round picks for obviously, Deshaun Watson. However, they'll give that GM credit, though, for sticking through that. And, that young GM, he found a way to get all those picks back in this year's draft. Remember when they traded down to number 5 for Mason Graham, and then they were able to get Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel, and now they got picks back, and now they got I think they have 2 first-round picks for next year. So give that team credit for digging themselves out of draft capital, how they're getting it all back like that. You got to give the GM credit for finding a way to do that, though.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, they should be criticized for sending away a lot of draft picks for a criminal that we knew wasn't going to last too long. But I agree. Now they smartened up. They're doing it the right way.
Because they could have been in a lot of trouble if they didn't get those picks back, but they could have been in even worse shape than they are now. But still,
they would be in football hell for years, maybe for a decade. I agree with you completely. You've made a lot of good points that I've agreed with here tonight. But that's another one. The fact that now they realize the mistake. If you make a mistake, what do? You can make it worse, or you can try to fix it. And
you know what was cool about it? Cleveland fans, you know how fickle they could be. The
Yep.
Cleveland fans were actually patient, and they actually let the GM stick around to be able to do it instead of where they could have fired easily like Cleveland would have done in the past.
Right.
But they didn't. I give Jimmy Haslam and the owners credit for being patient with this, and they did. And if you look at now, they've actually defense is good, but offensively they may be struggling, statistically, but individually they got a lot of young pieces on their offense that I feel like they could build a core out of, especially Quishad Jenkins, the running back, Shador, if he keeps developing, but they got a lot of good young players on offense too, that if they can put it together, I think they could compete, maybe not win the AFC North, but I think they could compete in the next 2 years. And if they hit those 2 first-round picks right next year, we'll see.
Yeah. So again, you're talking about the Browns fans having patience. You make the right moves like that, and especially if they make the right draft picks, that's going to help them, be patient. Because then even if you're developing and doing it the right way, and again, you take your lumps for a couple of seasons, but you could see progress. If I was a Browns fan, I'd be totally okay with that.
Especially, like I said, what do you do when you make a mistake by trading for, Deshaun Watson? You give up all those draft picks you make up for, and you get them back, which they
that was
did.
One of the stupidest moves in the history of the game. So, they're paying for it, but again, you make a mistake like that.
But credit though, it's the same GM who made that move, or it's the same GM who's got it back, and now they're doing it the right way again.
Yep, totally agree.
But and new stadium for them in 2029, so they'll be able to. Cleveland will finally be able to say that they get to host Super Bowls.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. That city needs it. They need that. You can't win them, host them. That's their philosophy. I'm just kidding. But anyway, and now drawing our attention to the 4:25 p.m. matchup between the 8-5 and the very rocky road Detroit Lions taking on the 10-3 LA Rams, led by Matthew Stafford at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. SoFi Stadium, where most of the stadium is sold out, but by the visiting fans, not by the LA Ray fans or the Charger fans. It's a vacation rental, basically, for road fans.
Right.
With 8:07 left in the first quarter, Amon-Ra St. Brown caught a 17-yard pass from Jared Goff, and the Lions led 7-0. With 2:44 left in the first, Kyren Williams ran it in for a 4-yard touchdown to knot the score at 7-all. With 12:04 left in the second, Jake Bates from the UFL kicked a 24-yard field goal to give the Lions a lead, 10-7. With 8:31 left in the second, Williams scored his second touchdown of the game to give the Rams their first lead of the game, 14-10. With 6:12 left in the second, St. Brown caught his second touchdown of the game to give the Lions back the lead, 17-14. With 30 seconds left in the second quarter, Jameson Williams, or as we call him, J-Mo, caught a 31-yard pass to increase the Lions' lead to 24-14. So, Joe, that was probably a good gamble, right, by Jameson Williams after his last one wasn't such a good one, literally.
Right.
Anyway, as time expired in the half, Harrison Mevis, and I believe that's the thicker kicker, if I'm not mistaken, the thicker kicker, kicked a 37-yard field goal to cut the lead to 24-17. With 9:03 left in the third, Mevis kicked his second field goal of the game, this time for 44 yards to bring the score to 24-20 Detroit. With 2:26 left in the third, Colby Parkinson scored on a 26-yard pass, and the Rams regained the lead, 27-24. With 28 seconds left in the third, Blake Corum scored on an 11-yard touchdown to bring the score to 34-24 Rams. With 7:54 left in the fourth, Bates kicked his second field goal for 48 yards to cut the lead to 34-27 Rams. With 4:49 left in the fourth, Parkinson caught his second touchdown of the game to bring the score to 41-27 Rams. With 2:42 left in the fourth, David Montgomery, sweet home Alabama. Or as Kid Rock would say, I'm from Alabama. Scored on a 1-yard touchdown to cut the lead, but it was just too little too late as the Rams would beat them as time ran out with the final score of 41-34. So, Joe, what did you think about a high-scoring game from such high-powered offenses?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised. In fact, I was recommended a little passing prop for Matthew Stafford. He went miles over that, so thank you. Now, I was wrong about something here, though, because I thought, it's kind of like the Falcons game that we were talking about earlier. I thought maybe the Bucs take it, but it's close, and I had the Falcons with the points. So I thought the same thing here. The Lions, I think it was a 5.5-point spread. So I was like, to me, that's one of the easiest picks, because if they don't outright win this game, which they easily could have, I felt, then, they definitely keep it within a field goal or something like that. And so, that didn't work out well for me. But, we joke, you joke about it. I do too, about how, the Rams are visitors in their own park. You know what their home record is? They're 6-1 at SoFi. So whatever's happening, no matter what fans are there, they're winning games there. So again, 6-1 at home. Mm-hmm. So that I don't think they care who's rooting for them and who's not. But again, Stafford showed up. He's being mentioned in the MVP column, and whether or the conversation, I should say, and whether he is in that conversation is up for debate. But he certainly made a case for himself here. And the Lions were in this game the whole time, as I expected, but just at the end, just seemed to melt down defensively. Offensively, they showed up for sure, especially the receivers with both St. Brown and Williams, getting over 100. And, with Williams, I don't know if I would have bet that, but he got there. And, St. Brown regularly is over 100 yards receiving. And, Puka Nacua played like Puka Nacua there. Again, Parkinson with a couple of touchdowns. Some guy named Devontae showed up and did well for them also. So, just great effort, big NFC game with playoff implications. And I think the Rams showed who's boss here, because, a lot of people have been saying that they're the best team in the NFC, and they certainly made a strong case for that. They're 11-3 now. Again, 6-1 at home. They get these home games, and they're going to be dangerous no matter, again, who's rooting for them. Mm-hmm. So big win for them. And for the Lions, they're in big trouble right now. 8-6, does that mean they're out? Of course not. But they definitely have to win out. And they may need help at the end here. So, just they played a great game too, but just the defensive meltdown that cost them. And again, the Rams showing who's boss.
Mm-hmm. And Joe, they may be visitors in their own park. In their own stadium, but they're 6-1 at home because it's whose house? Rams house. Whose house? Rams house. When you can hear the PA guy does that. The PA guy does that at the beginning of the game. You can hear it on the broadcast sometimes.
Right. It's interesting with the kickers. The other, the Chargers have, Dicker the kicker, And now I guess this team has a thicker the kicker. I guess there you can go,
Thicker
right?
kicker,
So
yeah.
we can go with that.
Yep. So, and Joe, what did you think about the end of the game? That was interesting because I'm probably the only one who noticed this. The Rams could have elected to take a knee because they got the first down. You notice when the Lions called their last time out, but they were still handing the ball off. It's like, why aren't you taking a knee? It's like Lions have no timeouts, and you could have ended the game there. What was their thought process? They're continuing to run plays there.
Yeah, that's a good question. Now, I'll admit I didn't get to watch this game. We had a choice. Again, I was in the Tampa market, and they had the Denver game there. And so, we ended up watching the Broncos game instead of this one. So I honestly didn't see that. But why would any football team do something stupid like that when anything can happen and, a guy can get hurt or whatever? I don't get it. I don't understand what the logic was. I don't know if they explained it on the broadcast, but and again, I wasn't aware of that because I didn't get to see that game. But still, why you would do that and not just kneel and take the victory, I have no idea. It's not a Mike Evans situation where the guy's going to get $5 million by making a big play towards the end of the season to get a bonus or something. So I don't know why they would do that.
Yeah. So anyway, Joe, now moving on to the 8:25 p.m. matchup. We've been waiting all day for Sunday night between the 6 and 1. That dang one.
There's that one.
Yep. And there was a one in another game which we didn't do, but you already mentioned it, Joe, the Green Bay Denver game. Green Bay's the other team with that one.
Right.
Dallas Cowboys versus the 5-8, but trending upward, I think, again. Minnesota Vikings at AT&T Stadium. With 8:26 left in the first quarter, Javonte Williams scored an 11-play drive with a 1-yard touchdown to give the Cowboys their first lead, 7-0. With 2:41 left in the first, Jalen Naylor scored on a 53-yard drive, taking 33 seconds off the clock on a 2-play, 20-yard touchdown pass to knot the game at 7-all. To start the second quarter on a 6-play, 73-yard drive, taking 2:43 off the clock, Malik Davis scored on a 1-yard touchdown to bring the score to 14-7 Cowboys. With 9:34 left in the second quarter on a 10-play, 75-yard drive, taking 5:24 off the clock, J.J. McCarthy, he snuck it in, but then he did the gritty afterwards. I think it was on this one. On a 1-yard touchdown to once again not to score 14-all. With 1:52 left in the second, Will Riker kicked a 20-yard field goal to give the Vikings the lead. 17-14. With 3 seconds left in the first half, Brandon Aubrey kicked a 37-yard field goal to not to score again, 17-all, and end the first half. With 11:17 left in the third quarter, Aubrey kicked his second field goal of the game, this time for 26 yards, to give the Cowboys the lead, 20-17. With 4:54 in the third quarter, Aubrey kicked his third field goal of the game, this time for 41 yards, increasing the Cowboys' lead, 23-17. With 1:14 left in the second quarter, CJ Bam Bam Turkey and Ham scored on a 73-yard drive, taking 3:38 off the clock on an 8-play, 1-yard touchdown score to give the Vikings the lead, 24-23. With 9:16 left in the fourth quarter, Naylor scored his second touchdown on a 5-play, 51-yard drive, taking 3:08 off the clock, increasing their lead to 31-23. With 1:13 left in the game, Riker kicked a 53-yard field goal to increase the lead to 34-23. With 23 seconds left in the game, Aubrey kicked a 41-yard field goal to cut the lead to 34-26, but it was a little too late as time ran out. So, Joe, with Brandon Aubrey being so good all year kicking field goals, what did you think about him missing those 2 clutch ones? And I think it eventually cost him the game.
Yeah, that's a shock. Again, he doesn't have games like that. But overall, as a team, I think the Cowboys proved that they were frauds, right? Here's a golden opportunity to get into the playoff picture and, beat a team that they should beat, and they fell on their face. Now, before I go further into that, it's, give credit to the Vikings. We were talking about the Bills being a second half team. This guy McCarthy here is proving to be a second half quarterback, because this guy doesn't wake up until halfway through the third quarter. And I think he had his best game as a pro here in this one. Now, again, people might say, oh, it's the Cowboys defense. Well, people have been saying how much better the Cowboys defense has been playing. And then to let a guy who's been struggling like JJ McCarthy tear him up, and come back, then, I guess the Cowboys proved once and for all that they don't belong in the playoff conversation. Again, if this game was in Minnesota, maybe I would feel a little bit differently. But again, they've played well at home in general. And again, this is a game that you cannot lose, and you have to do everything in your power to make sure you don't lose it. And, again, they let an inferior team, take it away from them, and they're going to pay the price now for the rest of the season. But, the Vikings are just playing to learn and playing for next year. And certainly this is an excellent step, in preparing, for future seasons, especially for JJ McCarthy.
I'm going to ask you, what did you think about his play during the game? I think he looks like he's coming along and he's starting to develop. He's developing, though, at least.
Right. And that's all you can ask for at this point. Again, let's see what he does the rest of the season. Going forward, let's see if he stays healthy and makes more positive steps. But, and again, like we said before, got to show up for the first half as well. And, you can't save, every part of your great performance for the second half, or else you're not going to make it that far. So, so I, again, impressed with him. And, again, let's see what steps he can take going forward.
Mm-hmm. It is now that time in our show for our question of the week segment. So guess what, Joe? Would you like to give it a try? We finally got to this.
Yeah, and I haven't been too successful with them, but yeah, let's give it a shot.
Okay, here we go, Joe. Let's get you on the right track. I've been sitting on this one for like 3 or 4 weeks, and now we finally get to do it. So here we go, folks. Get your popcorn ready and buckle your seatbelts. So, Joe, here's your question. Can you guess this NFL running back? He had 1 Super Bowl appearance, won the NFL MVP award once, and had 100 rushing touchdowns. Is it Shaun Alexander, Adrian Peterson, Marshall Faulk, or the boss, Jerome Bettis?
Good question. So you said, can you repeat them? I heard Adrian Peterson,
Shaun Alexander, Marshall Faulk, or Jerome, or the boss, Jerome Bettis.
All right. Now, I'm not 100% on this, but I think Bettis and Faulk were in more than 1 Super Bowl. All right. I'm going to go. So I wonder if Peterson ever even got to the Super Bowl. So, and I think when Shaun Alexander was with the Seahawks went to a Super Bowl. This was before, the Pete Carroll era. I'm going to go with Shaun Alexander.
You got it.
All right.
And guess what? Guess who he actually lost to that Super Bowl?
Was it the Patriots?
The Steelers.
Oh, Steelers.
And guess who was? Guess what? It was. Guess who? He's on this list. Guess who? I just said. Who did he lose to? It was his final game ever when they beat the Seahawks. Jerome Bettis.
Yeah, the bus. That's right.
Adrian Peterson never went to a Super Bowl, and Marshall Faulk went to
2.
Yeah.
All right. Great
won
question.
one and lost one. So
Right. Excellent question. Yeah, glad I finally got one right. I mean, we were definitely in single digit weeks in the season here the last time I got one of these
Yeah.
right.
So and guess what, Sean Alexander? Guess what? I don't think he ever had a winning record too in college, nor than winning a Super Bowl. Because if I'm correct, I think Alabama was only I think they were only either 4-7 or they were 3-8 that year, 3-9. They were not. They actually weren't. They weren't very good, but he was their bright spot.
All right. He played for Bama. I forgot who
Yeah.
he played college for. Okay.
Sean Alexander, Jerome Bettis, the days of they were Derrick Henry before Derrick Henry, your big 250-pound powerful backs.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, it looks like we come to the end of our show. So, Joe, where can we find you in the social media world on Tuesday, December 16th, 2025? Only next Thursday, next Wednesday, it'll be Christmas Eve, and next Thursday, it'll be Christmas Day.
Wow. How crazy is that? And then in 2 weeks from now, 2025 is over, which is impossible to believe. But you can find me on Joe Dell Sports Twitter X there. Obviously, this show making some appearances on other shows on this network as well. So that's where I am in 2025, almost 2026.
Mm-hmm. And then you can find me on yours truly at Bill's Chat 1, at Bill's Mafia Chat, and also at Jamie Malloy, the unbiased journalist, at DJ Dogtags, and theforkball.com on X, where I write about all sports. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and hit the bell for all notifications. For more content on Driving to the Top production, please visit our YouTube page, Twitch stream, Facebook stream, X stream, or wherever you get your podcast. You can find all your NFL news here at Driving to the Top Productions. Thank you guys so much for listening. And remember, folks, we are very sorry to hear that the Kansas City Chiefs are no longer in the playoffs.
I haven't stopped crying in 2 days.
Congratulations goes out to the Denver Broncos for clinching the first playoff spot, beating the Green Bay Packers in a rematch of Super Bowl 32, which was cool. And we now see that the Bills are a second-half comeback team that needs to be more efficient throughout the whole game. And the quarterback, Chris Berman, nobody circles the wagons, especially in the second half of NFL games, like the Buffalo Bills. See you next week, folks.
Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.
To rock this place.